All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So, Zach Rosenblatt of The Athletic released an article basically diving into the backstory of Aaron Glenn, right? Talking about him as a player, how he got the Jets job, all of these different things, talking about different connections to past teammates, coaches. A lot of people were talked about, right? Harry Douglas, Bill Parcells, Ronnie Lott. But in this one, I wanted to focus in on the comments made by Sean Payton. When you talk about a guy in Sean Payton, like for me at least, he's one of the best coaches that I have ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, he's just such a great coach, right? Now, Sean Payton has that direct connection to Aaron Glenn and Darren Mugia. We're going to talk about him in a little bit. And so Rosenblatt goes on to say, in the morning, Aaron Glenn got a phone call from one of his mentors in coaching, a man who first saw his coaching potential with the Dallas Cowboys 20 years ago, and the first person to entrust him with real responsibility as a position coach in the National Football League. I said, Aaron, I'm not calling you with any rooting interest here, Broncos head coach Sean Payton told The Athletic. I'm just calling to say, hey, I'm fired up for you. I told him to remember all the things that we know relative to what wins, to trust your gut, to trust your instinct. There's a presence about him, Payton said. As gifted and as skilled as he was, man, there's a grinder element and a work element to him and a toughness and mental toughness to him that when you start combining all those things, you end up with one of these special people. He continues on in regards to Aaron Glenn's press conference, of course, after he got the job. And Sean Payton said, it was fantastic. I'm thrilled for Aaron. He's a super stud. There's an it factor. There's not only a work ethic, but a presence in front of the room and a confidence level that they're going to embrace. So this is really cool, right? First and foremost, Sean Payton, again, one of the, in my opinion, one of the best coaches that I've ever seen in my lifetime. To have this backing from a guy like Payton is just huge. Now, we have to be objective and kind of look back. It's not the first time where the Jets have hired a head coach before in the past, and they've received a pretty strong endorsement, going back to Adam Gase getting that vote of confidence from Peyton Manning. But here's why it's different. Sean Payton is a coach. Sean Payton has been around the league since the early 2000s. And if we think back, right, and Payton, of course, worked his way up, starting out with the Eagles, then goes on to the New York Giants, then to the Dallas Cowboys, was a Bill Parcells disciple, ends up becoming the Saints head coach. But in between the Dallas Cowboy job and the New Orleans Saints head coaching job, Sean Payton, as a really young coach, had the opportunity to go be the head coach of the Raiders. In Payton's words, he said, I was a young assistant in 2003. I was brought out and interviewed by Al Davis for the head coaching job, and I got really close to taking it. That's a long story into itself. And then goes on to talk about Al Davis just as a coach, GM, former commissioner, and owner. But one of the reasons why Sean Payton did not end up taking that job was because he had other people advising him, hey, you know what? Maybe it's not the best situation. Maybe you should hold on. You got a great gig over in Dallas working with Bill Parcells. Your opportunity will come. You are young. You are smart. You're working your way up. Don't jump the gun here and potentially wind up in a spot where it might not be the most functional. Sean Payton listened and ended up sticking back with the Dallas Cowboys, and ultimately, again, as we all know, becomes the Saints head coach and is now the Broncos head coach. But Sean Payton received that bit of advice a long time ago. And it's interesting because Sean Payton had that opportunity to potentially sway Aaron Glenn the other way, potentially sway Darren Mugia the other way. Coming into the offseason, right, the team needs a general manager, the team needs a head coach, the team was labeled as dysfunctional. We had the Athletic articles, ownership question marks, quarterback question marks, roster holes. It's a big job here. Sean Payton could have easily said to Aaron Glenn, hey man, you interviewed for the Jags job, the Bears job, the Raiders job, the Saints. I mean, the Saints were just kind of that natural fit. You kind of felt like for Aaron Glenn, it was really felt like Jets or Saints for AG. And Sean Payton obviously knows the brass over there in New Orleans really well. You've taken head coaching interviews before. Last season, you were a top 3 finalist for the Washington Commanders job. If you go back to Detroit, that's obviously a sweet gig, and you're probably going to take head coaching interviews the following year. You know what? The Jets might not be the best situation. There's a lot to deal with there. I would maybe hold off. I would maybe look in a different direction. Payton could have said that. He got that advice himself. He could have went down that route, but he didn't, and he endorsed it. He said, hey man, go with your gut. And then in regards to Darren Muji, another person who's had a direct connection to Sean Payton, working hand in hand with Sean over the last couple of years, really since Sean Payton was brought into the Denver Broncos, right? Darren Muji, obviously former assistant general manager of the Broncos, kind of the right hand to George Payton. He's had a big role over in Denver. That's a sweet gig. Darren Muji's only 39 years old, former player. Worked his way up really, really quickly starting in 2012 for that Broncos team. Has been a part of a Super Bowl. Has been a part of great quarterback play. He's seen great moments. He's seen low moments. He's seen not so great draft picks, right? Guys come in and not work out. Coaches that haven't gotten the job done. But it really feels like Denver now is on the up and up. In other words, Darren Muji at this point in time, or I should maybe say, a month or two ago when he was with Denver, that was a big time role, big time gig, a lot of responsibility there. And with Sean Payton again being involved here, you got to imagine that Sean Payton was involved with talks, right? Darren Muji, obviously it comes up, you're not going to be sitting, well, I don't really know about the whole Liam Cohen situation, but I guess maybe ideally if you were a candidate, and you're interviewing for a promotion with another job, chances are you're going to let that organization know, hey, things are happening here. I'm interested in this. What do you think about that? You're going to test the waters. You're going to see, how people kind of view that opportunity, view you as a fit there. And by that point in time, Aaron Glenn was already the head coach of the Jets, right? The Jets hired him first. And again, we already knew the backing between Sean and AG here. You got to imagine that Sean probably looked at Darren Muji and said, hey man, even though you're in a great spot, you're 39 years old, you could probably, stick with this gig at least one more season and get other GM opportunities elsewhere. Aaron Glenn is like, he's that guy, in Payton's words, he described Glenn as a super stud. So if Sean Payton would have told Muji, do not go there, that place is a mess. Woody Johnson is not a great owner. The team they have a major, question at the quarterback position. You got to imagine that Darren Muji probably would have said, okay, I'm cool sticking back for another season. These are words coming from just a legendary coach here in Sean. So, it'd be one thing if it's, first year head coach or something like that. But Sean Payton's words hold weight, especially because he comes from the Bill Parcells coaching tree, right? Another coach that you feel like, hey, when he talks, people listen. It doesn't matter how established you are in the in the National Football League, in the industry. Bill Parcells, such a legend of the game. So let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Personally, again, I think it's really cool. I think to have that backing from Sean Payton is just awesome. Sean is someone who speaks his mind. Interviews, press conferences, he doesn't really beat around the bush. He's kind of a straight shooter, just gets right to the point. Even if you don't really want to hear it, he's just going to tell you anyway. We had the whole Nathaniel Hackett comments earlier, when he first took the Broncos job. So yeah, I think this is, at least for me, right? Can't speak for anyone else. I think for me, it's just cool to kind of get that behind the scenes look. What are the conversations that are being had behind closed doors with such an established figure in Sean Payton? Anyway, let me know your thoughts, and as always, go Jets.